Hello, pre-algebra students. Mr. Lawrence here with your flipped lesson, and we're starting Unit 3 tonight. And we're going to start with ratios and unit rates, and this should be a lot of review work for you. First thing you need to know, hold on, I'm sneezing, achoo! You should know that a ratio is comparing two values. And there are many different ways to write ratios. You may see a ratio written like this, which is read as 5 to 4. Then again, you might see a ratio written like this, 5 to 4, but you may see it the way Mr. Lawrence likes to write it, as 5 over 4. I really like fractions. Um, Higher level mathematics are easier if you have a good understanding of fractions. I know a lot of kids avoid them. When you avoid them, you cheat yourself of the opportunity of learning how to do them. All right, so let's look at a couple examples for some ratios. I'm going to compare the number of boys to girls. In this blue example right here, so there's 10 boys to 5 girls. Well, 10 boys over 5 girls, and I always want to simplify my fraction. So the ratio of boys to girls is going to be 2 boys for every 1 girl. Okay, just maybe we're counting the students in a particular class. How did I do that, you may ask? Well, I know that there's a number that goes into both 5 and 10 evenly. 1 goes into both of them, but I also know 5 goes into both of them. So I'm going to go ahead and divide this number by 5 and get 2, and I'm going to divide this number by 5 and get 1, and that's how I get my 2 to 1. That's how you simplify fractions. Another way to think about it is I have 10 over 5. I could write that as 5 times 2 over 5 times 1, and then if you cover up this part of the fraction like this, you see we have 5 over 5. And you should all know that 5 over 5 is the same as 1. Turns into 1, 5 divided by 5. And so then if I take away this part, this covered part here, I really have 1 times 2 over 1, which is the same as 2 over 1. More simply, it's 2, but since we're doing a ratio, we want to keep the denominator number in there. Okay, of course, you could have written your answer like this. It could have been 2 to 1 like that, or 2 to 1 like that. But I prefer the fractional method. Okay, now, if we have 12 apples and 4 oranges, that would be 12 apples to 4 oranges. And again, I'm going to simplify this. I think about the 12 as 3 times 4. And I think about the 4 as 1 times 4. And then look at this. These 4's can cancel, leaving me 3 to 1. So my ratio of apples to oranges is 3 apples for every 1 orange. Okay, and again, there's different ways to write it, but that's how I like to do it. Put that there. All right, finally, I have 18 dogs to 27 cats, so I'm just going to be real lazy and write it like that. There's my ratio. Now, again, I always want to simplify. I'm going to think about this. I'm looking at these two numbers, and I know 9 is the greatest common factor. So I'm going to write that as 9 times 2. The denominator I'll write as 9 times 3. I know that my 9's will cancel into 1. My ratio is going to be 2 dogs for every 3 cats. And that should be really good, really simple review for you. All right, now we're going to talk about unit rates. And unit rates are ratios where where the denominator is actually partially erased. No, denominator is 1. Okay, the denominator is 1. So, for example, if you go back up to this example here, this one here is a unit rate because notice my denominator is 1. 2 boys for every 1 girl. This one here is a unit rate because I know how many apples for one orange. Now we tend to think of unit rates more in money, so I made up a couple examples here. We're going to try to figure out the the unit rate if $43.92 was spent on 12 gallons of gas. All right. Well, that was it's a fraction, but it's a little harder to simplify. Um, most people don't know greatest common factor of a decimal and a whole number like that. So what we can do is stop and ask yourself, what does a fraction bar mean? Hopefully you're saying it means to divide. And I can just go to a calculator and I can clear my calculator. Where's my clear button? There it is. And do 43.92 and divided by 12. And there we go. That means that the unit rate is $3.66 per gallon. That's per 1 gallon. All right. In effect, I divided both the numerator and the denominator by 12, and I get 366 per 1 gallon. I'm not sure what that is. Let me rewrite that so it looks just a wee bit prettier. All right, get a nice pretty dollar sign going there. There we go. Okay, now on the green one, I spent $1.74 on 6 pounds of bananas. Well, what's the price per pound? Well, you take $1.74 and you divide it by 6, and you get 29 cents per pound. LBS pound. That's simple. All we're doing is dividing. We're setting up a ratio and then dividing. That's it. Okay, Mr. Lawrence has 4 core classes. If he has 112 students in 4 classes total, what's the unit rate? In other words, how many does he have on average in each class? Well, I take 112, I divide by 4, and I get 28. So there are 28 students per class. And that's it. That's all you do. There you go. All right, that's your lesson for tonight. We'll get some practice with this tomorrow. Mr. Lawrence signing off. Good night, everybody.